Hello and welcome to the Open Marketer. I'm Ansh. The last video we took our first steps with LibreOffice Impress. So the next obvious step was to show you how to go about using it efficiently and at scale as marketers. Assuming that some of you are new to Impress, I wanted to introduce some of the concepts and features of Impress before we do a proper template preparation, which we will do in the next video. So we all know too well about the phrase death by PowerPoint. And while that is directed to the audience, its effect on the one preparing the said PowerPoint is equally severe. We prepare, refine, sit through dry runs of hundreds of presentations at work. So the new software at minimum should help us stay efficient and create decks at scale, which means we are spending time on content and story and not formatting. The styles are consistent by default and we can update them through one click, and there is a defined structure and rules so that the deck and the slides are easy to navigate and troubleshoot. And all that should be without compromising the look and feel of the final product, the deck. Now, before we get into the thick of things, I wanted to set up a quick disclaimer. If your workflow depends on PowerPoint add-ins like ThinkCell for charts and automation, or similar tools like Upslide and Empower, you will likely be faster staying on PowerPoint because, to my knowledge, there isn't an alternative for LibreOffice, and these brands don't provide a solution for LibreOffice either. Okay. With that out of our way, let's see what do we have at our disposal in Impress to achieve the scale and efficiency. We have three foundations. First is the master slide, which determines how the slides will look. Second are the styles, which are basically the rules of formatting. And finally, the layouts, which are some presets so that you have a starting structure to your slides content. Now, getting to the video objectives, we have three things to do today. Firstly, we will define what the three foundations do. Secondly, we'll try to understand how they work together, so the workflow. And finally, towards the end, I will do a quick demo of what we covered in the video. So let's start with foundations. The master slides. So the master slide is basically the base layer of the slide that you're working on. You can set slide background, some shared objects and decorations that determine how the slides look, and you also determine where the default placeholders appear. This last item is really important because this is how the master slides can impact the preset layouts that Impress comes with. And of course, you can have multiple master slides that fit your need. Second, the styles. Now the styles are the rules of formatting and they define how the items on the slides are formatted. Impress has two styles, the drawing styles, which are used for graphic objects and texts, and presentation styles, which are used for the auto layout placeholders and elements on your master slide, like the title, the content placeholder, and even the background and background objects. Finally, the styles are applied through the master slides. And of course, if you manually format any object on the slide, that will override whatever styles they initially come with. Finally, we have the layouts. The layouts, as I said, are presets. So think of layouts as a starting structure that you would modify based on your needs. There are 16 preset layouts to get you started, and their default position, as I said, comes from the master placeholder frames. So in terms of the workflow, we should ideally set up a system using master slides and styles. Then we should use the layout to generate the initial structure, given that we know where the placeholders will appear. This will be a nice way to get things started. And finally, of course, we will fill the content and tweak if needed locally on the slides. All right, with that said, let's get into the demo. So here I have a new document in LibreOffice Impress opened, and I have also enabled the tabbed interface. In case you don't know how to enable this layout, you can check my previous video which talks about the first steps in LibreOffice Impress. I have also enabled the sidebar, and we will be managing most of our settings from here, so I suggest you have it open as well. In case it is not visible to you, maybe it is like this, you can click on the right side arrow here to show the sidebar. On the sidebar in the properties section, which is the first icon that you see here, you can see the different layouts that are available by default, and these are the only layouts that are available to us. We cannot have customized layouts in Impress. You can cycle through them to see the different layouts and how they may be helpful for curating your content on a slide. The second icon that we see here are the styles, and right now we are in the drawing styles, and to the right of the drawing styles there is presentation styles. So in the drawing styles, if I were to create a shape, let's say a rectangle, you can see that it by default inherits the default drawing style. If you want to change the style that this shape inherits, you can select one of the different styles that are available here. I'm going to select a filled style, let's say filled green, and to do that you just double click on that style, and that's how you get filled green. Same way you can select filled red, for instance, and so on. If you want to change how filled red, for instance, behaves, you can right click and click on edit styles, and once that is done, you can select one of the various settings and change the behavior of the style. I can select maybe a static color here, and with that the color as well changes. You can also add new styles in drawing styles. Let's go to the presentation styles. I'll delete the rectangle from here. The different presentation styles are title, subtitle, outline, and background and notes. There are a lot of different levels of outlines. We'll take a look at that in master slides. So to access master slide, you can go back to the first icon here or press Alt 1 and click on the master view here, or in the tabbed interface you can also select the view tab and click on master slide. So let's do that. Here we are in the master slide interface. On the left hand side you can see the slide pane has become a master slide pane, and you can add some additional masters as well. Right now there are 2 masters. You can keep adding more to you based on your content needs. And if I were to look at the center part of the window, we will see the slide with 5 different areas. So we have the title area, the object area, and the footer area, slide number area, and the date area. The title area, as the name suggests, is for the title part of a slide. And if I were to select this and go into the styles, you can see that the title style within the presentation styles has been selected. The object area governs the main part of the layouts, and how this area is formatted and where is it on the slide determines where does the content placeholders of the layout land up in the main slide. I'll show that to you in a second. So let's just select the title area for once and try to edit this. I don't like how big the fonts are. I'm going to edit that and select font face, make this to bold, this 24. I'll also select left alignment. So that's changed the title area of the layout. And in the object area, if I were to select the first line of text, you can see that the outline style has been selected. There are 9 levels of outlines, but we don't need that many levels. So we will just format the first 3 levels. And the other thing that you can see is these outline styles are inheriting the main outline. So the changes that I make in the first one gets reflected the next levels. So let's edit the outline 1. Let's go to the font, and here I'm going to change the font face, and I will change the size. Now, so the size property of the outline 1 does not get transferred to the different outlines, but the font face does get. So you can see that the font size remained the same, but the font faces have changed. So let's just change the sizes of the next 3 levels, something a bit more suitable. Also change the subtitle style. Okay, so with that changes done, we can go back to the main window and close the master view from here. And now you can see that the changes made in the master slide has impacted the look and feel of the main deck. So if I were to, for example, create a new slide and then change the layout to something like this, you can see that the font face and the font style have changed. If I go and look at the subtitle, that has also changed here. Now, going back to the master view, we had created another master slide. Here also, I'm going to make some changes in the title style. You can, by the way, of course, copy the previous master and make that happen. I will leave the rest of the things as is, so we can at least see some difference. I am going to change the background of this to a dark theme. And with that dark theme, given that the fonts are at an automatic setting, the font has become of light color. I'm going to move the object area layout slightly in the lower half of the slide. I'll do the same with the title. So let's see how this change impacts the main slides. If I were to take this slide number 2, and change the master slide from default to default 1, which is the name of our other dark theme master slide, you can see how the layout has been affected. Not only the slide has become the dark theme, the content area has become squeezed to the lower half. Now, depending on what kind of vision you have for the slide and what kind of master you are preparing, you can, of course, have images, either dynamic, so locally on the slides you can add, or in the master view itself you can add some images here, which can be replicated, of course, within the slides that share this master. Okay, so that was a very short demo of how the three foundations work together. How does a style impact the formatting of different areas within the master slide, and how does the master slide there impact the layouts and thereby your content. And you can, of course, do much more, and we will cover all that in the next video, where we will create a template from scratch. And if you don't want to miss it, please subscribe so that you can be notified. If you found this video helpful, please like and comment, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.